Hey guys, welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. I am coming to you on a very brisk, wet morning here in Inwood, West Virginia. This week we're going to talk about business stuff. We're just going to have a general conversation. This is kind of unscripted. I'm going to kind of address some questions that I have been asked by you guys, talk a little bit about my new band project that I'm currently working on and that sort of thing. But before we get into all that, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Share it on your socials, share it with your friends, share it with people you think that would benefit from this kind of content, this kind of information. It costs absolutely nothing to subscribe, so you would really be doing me a solid if you hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell so that you will get a notification every time I post a video. So let's dive right in. First of all, I've had a couple guys kind of tongue in cheek, ask about my new band J3 and what that's all about. We are a classic rock band. We're an older band. I mean, I got some guys in my band that are pushing 60 years old. We have our expectations very dialed in as to who we want to be. And I mean, at the end of the day, we probably would be really hard pressed to be an upper B band. Being a classic rock band, that's a genre that doesn't have an enormous amount of support in mainstream club stuff and that sort of thing. I think it's always going to be there. It's kind of like 80s music. 80s music's always going to be around, man. It's never going to go away. It's kind of like karaoke. Karaoke's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. But is that the thing that, most people are pursuing when they think about going to a nightclub? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys will argue with me about that, and that's fine. Look, I'm a classic rock guy. I love classic southern rock and blues rock, that kind of stuff. And I think it's relevant, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I had one guy who was like, man, I'm going to come out and see your gig and make sure that you're doing all the things that you're telling bands to do. Man, it's just not that kind of band, We got one gig under our belt. We are a remnant of a previous band that we were all in about 10 years ago called the J Factor. And that band had huge classic rock success in our local area. And that kind of brings me to the next point I want to get at, which is everyone thinks that playing in the big city is where all the money's at. And that's not always the case, I live along the I-81 corridor in a little four-state area of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. You can drive from Virginia to Pennsylvania in about 35 or 40 minutes. That's how tight that little area is. And we have a handful of cities in that area that don't have the biggest, hugest, gigantic, music scene in the world, but there's money to be made out here if you're giving people what they want. Our genre of music kind of plays into that wheelhouse a little bit out this way because rural people tend to be a little bit more into, classic rock and that sort of thing, country, all that stuff. To where when you're in the city, a lot of the clubs are looking for top 40, dance bands, pop bands, at the very least party rock bands, 90s rock, that kind of stuff. And I had a really good established top 40 dance band contact me this week about wanting me to kind of connect them with some of the nightclubs that I work with in Baltimore and DC. I'm only 90 minutes from Baltimore and DC, Washington, DC. And I knew right out of the gate this conversation wasn't going to go the way he was probably anticipating it to go, because, it's, in the city, man, things are tough, brother. I mean, things are just really, really tough. There's a lot of really good musicians down there. There's a handful of really, really good bands down there. And they all live in that area. They're not commuting 90 minutes to get there. And they're all competing against each other pretty actively. And that drives the price of the bands down, So this guy is probably making in the neighborhood of 2,500 or 3,000 out this way. I'm just speculating, guys. I know what kind of band they are. I know the level that they play on and the crowds they draw. So I think I'm pretty confident in that number that they're probably making that $2,500 to $3,000 mark out here along the I-81 corridor out west here. To where if they went to the city just to get in some of the rooms that they would probably like to play, those rooms are paying like 800 to 1,500, probably closer to 1,200, on average. So unless you're going to have some kind of connection with somebody in the corporate scene down there where you could get the kind of money you're used to making out west here, it's going to be really hard to get that kind of money until you get established. And this band's it's kind of an older band for the most part. They're definitely a high B band, really good musicians. Set list is correct. They look good on stage, even for their age. They take it very seriously. They're very organized. They have all the things that you need to be a successful band. So my recommendation to him and my response to him was, man, if I were you, I would really just keep cultivating what you already have going on out here on the I-81 corridor, out here in the rural areas, because there's more money out here. Some of the breweries and the wineries that are out this way are paying a little bit more. The clubs out this way are predominantly animal circuit type clubs, moose, elks, eagles, all that kind of stuff, even like ANVETs, VFWs. Those all sound like really C-rated rooms, but in our particular area, some of those rooms are the biggest rooms and they have the biggest crowds. And those lodges they really have a very deliberate marketing approach right now to try to get younger membership, into the place. So they're opening the doors to the public more often, and they are really, really trying to, because their membership is dying off, because like you take the Moose, for example. I'm a Moose member. I don't regularly go to the Moose, but I support the organization because I like what they stand for. I have been a Moose member for many, many years. And I myself have had those conversations with, some of the people in my local lodge, like, we have to do a better job of, marketing toward, that 30-something, 40-something crowd and get them in there. A lot of that means booking the kind of bands they want to see, having amenities that they're interested in and getting them plugged into, the scene that way. So as crazy as that sounds to some of you guys that are watching that might be from the city and you're used to just playing your corner pub or the local dance club or whatever like that, and these kind of clubs kind of seem below you, I get that. In the city, that might be the case. Out here in the rural areas, specifically up in Pennsylvania, in my area, man, some of them animal clubs are the biggest and baddest clubs going in town. You know what I mean? Like, they're really getting it right. They're really, booking, a full calendar. They got bands every Friday and Saturday night. The food is great, the service is good, prices are economically correct. It's a cheap place to drink, and that sort of thing. They're not usually parked right in the center of the town square for the cops to be up your rear end when you leave the place. So there's something to be said for that. There's definitely a level of relevance there that we don't talk about a lot when we're talking about the animal clubs. So there is some respect that needs to be given where respect is due in that market. But without getting into all the obvious marketing stuff that I've talked about half a dozen times on this channel, as far as logo representation, I had somebody say something to me the other day. We were at a show. It was like, how many logos do you actually need on stage? They got it on the kick drum. There's a band banner. There's trims. There's pull-ups. There's all. I'm like, well, there's really never enough, honestly. You need to be bombarding, your audience with that kind of stuff and getting all the stuff right on social media as well, because it's free, So it's just a matter of getting everybody in the band plugged into that. But yeah, so I mean, it's all about, you know, adjusting your expectations to what you want your band to be. You know, if you're trying to be an A band and you have the musicianship, the set list, the youth, the look, you know, and the infrastructure in place to possibly be an A band, that band is going to have radically different motivating, you know, criteria in place than a band like my band J3, who is really just looking to play out maybe, you know, twice or three times a month, really looking to play to our niche crowd, really going to probably lean into, you know, the festival circuit and stuff like that in the summertime where we're outdoors. We're a loud band because we're old and deaf. We're still on wedge monitors, you know, and things like that. You know, so we're not really compatible with a lot of small sports pubs and things like that that my local area has an abundance of. So I have to make sure that our expectations are adjusted accordingly and that we're having fun, because for us, having fun is as important as making money and building a fan base. We have a very strong, you know, support system still left over, even though it's been 10 years. It really makes no sense to me whatsoever. It really shouldn't be this, but even left over from, you know, 10 years ago when we had the J Factor, J3 still already has an enormous amount of support from that old fan base to now. And, you know, those people have aged with us. And those people were religious about coming out and, you know, supporting what we did. And they enjoyed the music that we do. So moving forward, we're hoping to continue to tap into that and give those people what they've always come to know and love about our band. But, you know, man, let's keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not 25 years old. We're not jumping around the stage like, you know, with energy out the wazoo. We're probably looking forward to a nap after the gig. And stuff like that. I mean, you know, it is what it is, man, you know, and we're cool with that. That's the point of all this, is like, so many of you guys have been coming to me and you're so stressed out about not getting every little teeny tiny thing that I talk about right. Man, if you can get 75% of the stuff that I talk about right, you're probably ahead of most of the bands in your area. No one gets everything right. No one bats 1,000 all the time, you know, myself included, you know, and you got to keep that stuff in perspective. And if you're so hyper focused on, you know, being the best band in your area and playing, you know, 120 shows a year or 160 shows a year. I know some full-time bands, you know, doing that, 160, 70 shows a year. I'm already doing 180 shows a year with my production company, so I don't have the schedule to do, but probably, you know, 30 or 40 shows a year with J3, and that's probably on a really good year. But, you know, don't forget to have fun with this, man. Don't forget why you started playing music all together, you know, when you were a kid or when you were a teenager. You know, you got into this because you enjoy music. You love music. You know, so whether you're a C band or you're an A band, make sure you're having fun. Because if you're not having fun, then it turns into a job real quick. And within 6 months to a year, you'll be sick of doing it. And, you know, I know A bands right now that are trapped by the money. You know, they are miserable. They hate the band. They hate half the people they play with in the band. You know, they enjoy the money. They love the fans. You know, they love being on stage, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's a miserable experience for them. And I'm kind of like, I mean, I guess if you've been doing that for 25 years, you know, you're already so vested into it that, you know, you just need to put up with it. But in my world, where I'm at 51 years old, I'm not trying to look at anything and deal with any of that kind of stress or anxiety, including my production company, because we have stressful times in our production, in, you know, my production company, CLP Audio and Staging, but we also try to have fun. You know, I also try to be a little bit of a goofball on the job. Listen, guys, you know, this whole week actually on the short form videos, I've been just ranting like a nut job. And you guys enjoy that. It's entertainment. But for those of you who actually know who I am, you know that that's not really my personality. I will get on a rant from a comedic perspective because I like to make people laugh. I'm the kind of guy that wants to help people and wants to be a blessing to the people around me to the best of my ability. God knows, stress gets to me sometimes just like everybody else. But for the most part, I try to be a decent human being. We are a Christian company at the end of the day. Well, how about we inject some of that stuff into our perspective of our band? You know what I mean? Let's inject some of that kindness and some of that, love for the craft, for the art form into our band. Let's look forward to going to rehearsal. Let's look forward to hanging out with the guys that I'm in the band with. And if that's not the case, man, then I have to ask you, especially if you're not one of these A bands that's raking in 70 grand a year doing what you're doing. If you're a B band and a weekend warrior, why are you playing in a band with a bunch of people you can't stand to be around? That never makes any sense to me. Why would you do that? I won't do that. I wouldn't do that for a second because life's too short, man. It really is. Life is too short for all that nonsense. And I want to look forward to going to rehearsal. I want to be friends, genuine friends with the people that I play music with. That way, when we get in a venue or at an event that's a little challenging, we're all on the same team, man. Being in a band is like being in a family. So I think all that stuff is as important as all the crazy stuff that we talk about with marketing and set list and, all the things set flow and all that sort of stuff and everything. Man, relax and just try to have fun with it. Okay? Really. Adjust your expectations to meet who you are as a band. If you're a C band, don't be laying in bed at night losing sleep because you're never going to be an A band. Because all that's going to do is rob you of all the enjoyment you get of playing music. Come on, man. Life's too short for all that. I love you guys. Again, please like and subscribe to this channel. Please share this with someone that may need to hear this message and may need to adjust their perspective and their expectations a little bit. And don't forget to be kind to each other, man. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving this week too, man. Y'all be thinking about the things that you're thankful for. I'm thankful for my business, my clients, my bandmates. I'm in an awesome, band with guys that love me and I love them, and we got each other's back. And that's how your band should be too. So I'll see you guys next time.